I'm a lawyer, and my client locked 11 people in a church and burned it down. I'm about to prove his innocence. I knew for a fact he was guilty. Since becoming a lawyer, I've defended some truly disturbing cases. But Michael Langston, he doesn't just top the list. He is the list. When I got assigned his case as a public defender, I actually laughed. I thought someone at the office was messing with me. A guy walks into a church during evening prayer, locks the doors from the outside, and sets the place on fire. There were 11 victims, every one of them burned alive. The CCTV footage from the nearby traffic camera showed him dragging the pews across the doors, pouring gasoline around the perimeter and lighting the place up. No mask, no gloves, just calm and methodical. I was meant to defend that. I spent the next few days going through the forensic reports and footage. The bodies were unrecognizable. One mother died trying to shield her daughter. The most haunting thing? You could see some of the victims pounding at the glass, just silhouettes outlined in flame. After I had everything ready, I scheduled my first meeting with him. I expected a religious zealot or maybe some radical nutjob, but the man in the holding room didn't look anything like what I expected. Michael was shaking, pale, sweating, like he hadn't slept in days. When I introduced myself, he seemed startled. "Mr. Langston, I'm your attorney, Leo Ross." He eyed me with suspicion. Are you real?" That wasn't the first time I'd been asked that on the job, but the way he said it, it chilled me. "You're not them, are you?" "I'm not sure what you mean. I'm here to help you." Michael leaned forward suddenly. "Then get me out of here before they come back, please. I didn't kill those people. I saved them." "You set them on fire, Mr. Langston." "No. I destroyed the things wearing their faces." There was something in his eyes when he said that. I don't know why, but I didn't stop the interview there. Maybe it was instinct, or curiosity. I turned on my recorder and asked him to tell me what happened that night. Michael explained that he'd been attending the church for 6 years, normal congregation, same pastor, same faces, until about 2 months ago. I started noticing changes, little ones at first. People forgot things, whole conversations we'd had just vanished from their memories. Then they started acting off, like they were pretending to be human. I didn't say a word, just let him talk. Mrs. Lorne, the Sunday school teacher, she never blinked. I counted. She stood at the pulpit for 15 minutes last service without blinking once. And the pastor? He gave a sermon in a language I've never heard before. Everyone else clapped like it was normal. "You think they were replaced?"
"I know they were. I tried telling the police. They ran my name, saw I'd been at a psychiatric hospital 5 years ago, and sent me away. But I wasn't crazy. They weren't people anymore. They were hosts."
"Hosts?"
"I don't know what they really are, but they're inside people, puppeting them. And that night, I knew I didn't have a choice."
"You decided to kill them?"
"I decided to stop them. I gave them one last chance. I confronted them in the church basement, but they all just turned and stared at me. Same look, blank, unblinking." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object and pressed it into my palm. A broken rosary bead, stained with something dark. They weren't praying. They were feeding. He was dragged back to his cell a few moments later. I stared at that broken rosary in my hand for way too long. Still, I didn't believe him. Until I went to the county morgue. I had a friend there, Sam. I asked him if I could see the bodies. I told him I had reason to believe that there was something wrong with the remains. He gave me a look, but agreed.
"Be careful," he warned. "These ones are real bad."
The bodies were almost gone, just piles of char and melted bone. But when I looked closely, I saw something. In 3 of the victims, there were odd foreign objects embedded deep in the tissue. Metal slivers, like implants, but they weren't medical. They looked organic, too symmetrical to be random. One was shaped like a thin black needle, about 3 inches long, with a spiral carved into it. I asked Sam what it was.
"Never seen anything like it," he said. "Tried scanning it. Didn't even register as metal. Doesn't respond to magnetism either. Some kind of alloy, maybe?"
I asked if any of the other recent bodies had them. Sam frowned.
"Weird you mention that. There've been a few bodies over the past year. Same thing. Same implants. One was a kid, 8 years old, died in his sleep. Same spiral thing in his neck."
Something about that detail made my stomach knot. I thanked him and left with the rosary and photos of the implants in my briefcase. That night I stayed up researching. It took hours, but I found a match. The spiral wasn't just a pattern. It was a symbol, used in something called Project Nadir, a defunct research program from the early 2000s. The idea was to use cognitive waves to host AI inside human brains. Test subjects were all low-risk citizens. Most of them disappeared. There was one name listed under a declassified subpage. Michael Langston. My client. I went back to the evidence archive at the courthouse. Most of his file was clean. Too clean. No priors, no mental health history except for a sealed file from 2019 marked Unauthorized Deactivation. Deactivation? I kept digging and found a set of reports in a shredding box just like in the Cooper case. Inside there were notes, memos, all marked with a corporate header. Ethermind Corporation. I'd heard of them. Shadow tech firm. Government contracts, nothing public. The memos referenced a failed prototype. Subject Langston showing signs of regained sentience. Neural host rejection detected. Immediate quarantine advised. I scanned every page and called Fitzgerald, told him I needed backup. Ross, don't tell me you're going back into this rabbit hole. I think someone's still trying to suppress this. You're insane. I'll take that as a yes. We broke into an old storage facility where the church's basement materials had been stored. I found what I was looking for, a small steel box with a biohazard warning. Inside, a twisted black coil with a blinking red light, still pulsing. It wasn't dead. I brought it to Fitzgerald. He took one look and said, "That's not human tech." I nodded. "I'm going to court tomorrow." "You really think you can prove any of this?" "No, but I can stall long enough to blow this thing wide open." The next morning, the courtroom was packed. I stood in front of the judge, and for the first time, I lied under oath. My client was not in his right mind. He suffers from paranoid delusions. We're pursuing an insanity defense. But in my pocket was that blinking device, and in my hand, Michael's rosary. He smiled at me when they dragged him away, and just before he vanished down the hall, he whispered, "Check your neighbors."